All right, what's up, y'all? My name is Skeleton Mike, and today we're going to talk about why Fallout 4 is better than Starfield. So it's been like a month or so since the game came out, a month and a week or whatever, since the game came out, and I've played them both a good amount. I do have a job, I do have a life, so I haven't no life these games. Maybe like your favorite streamers have. But in my opinion, casual player, played a shit ton of Fallout 4 growing up, played a shit ton of Fallout 3, played a shit ton of Skyrim, played a shit ton of Oblivion growing up. I'm a big Bethesda fan, but this game, I wanted it to be good, but I did have a feeling that it would be exactly what it is. And that is a sort of scuffed version of Fallout 4 in space where sort of a lot of the most important parts of Fallout 4 that made the game amazing and made the game great have been stripped away and replaced with, to facilitate the space setting. And, so, now that I've played both games, I really feel like Starfield does everything important worse than Fallout does. And here's why. Number one is exploration. The thing that everybody talks about, the biggest thing, and it's worth repeating. The game doesn't give you the feeling of exploration and the sense of wonderment that Skyrim, Oblivion, and Fallout all do with their handcrafted POIs. The thing about it is that every POI that you can find in these games, every one of them has a story. There's a backstory to every single POI you find. You go to some cave and you find a node in the cave, and the node has a backstory on it, or like you find a POI and it's destroyed in just a certain way, and across the street is maybe, or you come across some quest and you find an NPC who tells you about something that happened that caused that building to be damaged in the way that it is. Or for example, the USS Constitution in Fallout 4, where you help a group of robots fend off scavengers who are stealing their parts because they don't respect them as robots. And the captain's whole goal is to get back to the sea by using the jets that are attached to the boat, and you help him build the jets back, and he flies off and he crashes into another building. It gets stranded at the top of a tower. you know these types of things, these interesting fun POIs that you can discover that have a whole storyline attached to them are absent from Starfield. You go and you find a cave and it sucks and it's so disappointing. Maybe there's a mob inside, or maybe there's some shitty drops inside each cave, and it all follows the same layout. Or like you find a base on one planet across the solar system or across the galaxy, you find another base that looks exactly the same and it's laid out exactly the same and has the same NPCs and has the same note in the exact same spot that references the exact same quest and the exact same people. That kind of shit is cardinal sin in these games, and is something that you never want to see as a player. And that's why people say that the game's a mile wide and an inch deep. Number two is the quests. You find these interesting POIs, and then the POIs have a quest that you literally go on right there. From the POI, some NPC or some computer or some document sends you to find some other place on the map with something interesting in it. And then the quests in general, like for example, Nick Valentine's quest in Fallout 4, or maybe when you go to Diamond City and the guy is accusing his brother of being a synth, and then the guard comes up and blows his fucking head apart into tiny pieces right in front of his brother, and like tells him he doesn't have time to fuck with this shit. Get back to work, or whatever he said. That kind of shit. That kind of like there's the quests are filler in Starfield, and it really shows. The inch inch deep and a mile wide really encompasses the quest too. They're really not even close to as interesting or deep as Fallout and Skyrim and Oblivion and all these other games that Bethesda's known for. Number three, the thing that I think that Fallout does better is gunplay. Not because it's like really that much better, it's pretty much the same. It's the same except you shoot less variety of enemies. But the thing is that Fallout 4 is 10 years old. So what's Starfield's excuse for being almost identical to a 10-year-old game? And in some ways, worse if you like VATS, because there's no VATS system. So it's Fallout 4 gunplay minus VATS, pretty much, and with less enemies you're shooting at. So there's that. The other part about the gunplay, is the Fallout has gore. There's no gore in Starfield. In fact, the entire game is kidified in a way that it really the game has no balls. The game has no balls in terms of interesting POIs. The game has no balls in terms of gritty storylines. The game has no balls in terms of gore. The game has no balls in terms of dark humor. For example, like the Pit-Boy is so dark humor. There's so much dark humor in it. And speaking of which, the progression system in Fallout 4 is great, where you upgrade your perks in the Pit-Boy, and they all have like interesting logos and interesting things they do. It's much better done in Fallout 4, and also enemy variety. The next thing is enemy variety. There's nothing. Starfield, you fight pirates. You're fighting pirates the whole fucking time. You're fighting pirates with a different number next to their name. Companion variety. In Starfield, all your companions are good guys. Are they not? I think all your companions you find in Starfield are good guys, and they'll get mad at you if you break the law or you do drug. You do drug. What are you, an addict? In Fallout, we have a much more interesting variety of characters, like Strong, the super mutant, or Dogmeat, the most famous one, or you have robots like Codsworth. I mean, you do have robots in Starfield. You can get a robot companion in Starfield, actually. Not as dope as Codsworth. And the biggest thing that Fallout 4 does, and all these other boots on the ground games where you don't fly around in space, the biggest part about these games, the thing that I realized that Fallout 4 and Fallout 3 have in abundance that Starfield doesn't have, the thing that makes Starfield a watered down version of Fallout 4 in space is that the game has no character. The game feels soulless. The game feels like space with a Bethesda wrapper around it. Like they had the idea, well, what if we do it in space? And they didn't care what they had to cut to get there, what fat they had to cut to get there. They made Fallout 4 in space, and it suffered big time to satisfy that premise. Things like the whole frozen in time alternative 50s post-nuclear apocalypse setting in itself is 1,000 trillion billion times more interesting and fun and funny and aesthetic than Starfield. Every part of the setting, that unique walked out of a vault 200 years after a nuclear apocalypse where your society was stuck in like a futuristic 50s environment, is super dope, super unique. And Starfield is well, what if global warming ruined the earth and humans left, and there's ancient civilizations with magic. Nice. On top of that, we have the Pit-Boy. The whole Pit-Boy idea is a million times better than the fucking watch from Starfield. Like you go into the Pip-Boy and you have the whole Pip-Boy character that, you know, he's doing all sorts of crazy things. He's blowing people's heads up. He's teaching you how to play the game. That whole character, fun, silly, haha, we're having fun, even though people's fucking heads are exploding. Uh, the population's wiped out, and there's radiation in the water. All this like lightens and helps to add flavor, and the setting is incredible, 100,000 times better in Fallout than Starfield. They didn't even try in Starfield. Honestly, there's no like fun, funny, interesting quirkiness in Starfield. It's just the future and we ruin the Earth and there's aliens with magic. Uh, and on top of that, the character of each POI, the handcrafted POIs, we go back to the handcrafted POIs again, dude. The handcrafted POIs, every single one of them has its own backstory. Have I already mentioned this? They have their own backstory. You go into the POI and you find some interesting thing with context clues or actual physical clues like documents or computers or whatever, and they tell you a story that's been written out by a developer. You know, every little piece of the game feels handcrafted specifically, and it's so satisfying to think about that. Like the value you feel that they worked really hard to make a game that you'd like, and that's valuable. You feel good about that when you see that in game. And that is entirely fucking missing from Starfield. There's not an ounce of that. The game feels like it was made during COVID, and it's not, it feels half baked. It feels like they didn't do a pass, you know, like a development pass of flavor, like of where you just go and you add interesting things to the story, you know, or the interesting things to the environment. It needs more POIs, and the POIs need to have more individual character. A lot more POIs and a lot more character. And I want to see character in the environment too. I don't want to see just rocks and trees and stupid animals, you know. Fallout 4's character is the main number one thing that makes it infinitely better than Starfield. And I don't think Starfield with infinite updates can ever match what Fallout 4 has in character. Because the game's already out. And when games get released, they don't get majorly changed from where they were when they first got, you know, unless you're No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky is drastically different than it was when it came out. But I don't have any faith that Bethesda's going to drastically fucking change and do a whole flavor pass over the whole game and add a million I mean, they could add a million POIs, and I hope they do. The game needs to get much deeper, and you need to feel much more immersed for it to even hold a candle to its predecessors. Yeah. But so now that that's out of the way, the main chunk of the video is out of the way. Let's talk about a couple things that make Fallout 4 worse than Starfield. Number one is the graphics. Obviously, the game is 10 years older than Starfield. So you can't even, I mean, the game looks amazing, but it runs like shit on my PC, even though my PC's top of the line, you know? Graphics is one thing that it does better, but it does a shitty job of doing it better, you know? The engine feels old. It feels a million years old. The graphics look great. The engine feels like shit. Fallout 4, VATS. VATS sucks. Having to use VATS in some situations, like for example, if you have like small critters or like bloat flies all around you, you go ahead and you just press Q and you slow time, you look at them, and you click on that one, you click on this one, you click on that one. It's like bam, 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 and you kill all of them without taking too much damage. And if you don't do that, then there's a chance you'll just die from getting swarmed and being unable to, like, you know, shoot them, because it's harder when things are close to you to like get the crosshairs perfectly on them to shoot them. Um, Starfield, I guess, does that better, but it has the VAT system is in the ship combat, and I think it's actually done pretty dope. Where you like shoot the ship's engines and disable it, and you can board it and take the ship. All that stuff is pretty dope. So that, like the space combat, obviously having that whole chunk of the game where it's not even in Fallout, that makes it better than Fallout by having that whole, like, you know, mini game of space. The whole, and all the little things that could happen in space are pretty cool. And that's where all the, like, a lot of the flavor is in Starfield that they do have is in the space encounters. Like, you know, you'll find like a magic school bus type NPC encounter randomly in some systems in Starfield. For example, this is one thing that's pretty cool, I guess. And like I said, my point in this is like the VAT system in Fallout is bad. The one in Starfield is good. Another thing, which is in their defense, one of their main selling points is that the ship builder is better than the base builder. I never liked the base builder in Fallout. I think it's dumb. I don't know. I don't care about it. I don't give a fuck about it. And so the ship builder, I played around with it. It's pretty dope. It's a little shallow. They can add stuff, and I hope they do. And it has a lot of potential. I've seen the videos of people making like mechs and Gundams and shit. So I know it's pretty dope, and I think that's cool. And obviously that's gonna be better because it's like the 10-year updated version of base building in Starfield. You know, that's base building translated to ships in space, you know. And so there you go. Conclusion: Starfield is a scuffed version of Fallout 4 in space, and the setting causes the game to suffer because they had to cut so many things that made the preceding games from Bethesda great, such as the exploration, the quest variety. The gunplay is just as good as it was then, but it should be better. Gore. Fallout has gore. The progression in Fallout. The enemy variety, obviously. Like, come on, man. The companion variety. Like, come on, man. You gotta have more companions on release. So obvious. The game feels half-baked. And then the number one thing that makes Fallout 4 better than Starfield is the character of the game. The game has character, Oblivion has character, Skyrim has character, but Fallout 3 and Fallout 4 have so much character, and basically Starfield is most like Fallout, but it lost all its character. And so that's the video, guys. That's what I think of Starfield, and that's why I think Fallout 4 is better. Like the video, subscribe to my YouTube channel. I have other videos on there from a long time ago, and recently my Armored Core videos. Follow the channel, follow me on Twitch. I fucking stream all the time. Twitter/X, Skeleton Mike. Everything is Skeleton Mike. Follow me up. Word to your moms. I'm here to drop bombs. See you.